actually meant it's the opposite. It's meant it's a defense to Ronda. So I'll say it to you now, Joel. The Ronda story has never been told accurately. When she started, this was a forming division. To remind you historically of what happened, she was crowned champion before she ever had a fight. There was a press conference where they brought her on stage and put the belt around her and declared her as champion. The relevance to that is nobody knew. Ronda was the biggest name. She'd come over from Strikeforce. She had a great level of success. She had the judo background, and nobody could really argue otherwise because we just didn't know. So you got to start somewhere. And what do we know about branding and marketing? We've seen this with all the interim titles that are going around. We know they love to have that belt when they're putting on a poster, when they're trying to sell tickets. So they put the belt around her, and nobody says boo about it because we can't declare that they're wrong. It was a forming division. Well, now who are you going to have her fight? You're going to have her fight whoever you declare to be the number one contender. But the reality is we didn't know who the number one contender was. We didn't know who the champion was, who the best fighter was, or who they should be fighting. We didn't know. It was a forming division. Now, the men went through this too. I wouldn't kick the men. Well, could you tell me who Pat Miletich beat to become the world champion? No. Okay, I could. I do know who it was. It was Andre Pederneiras. But if you were to back off one more step and ask me who Andre beat to be the champion, I have no idea. Dave Monet. I don't want to disparage Dave Monet, but that if you look back, man, Dave Monet was the champion of the world. That's a bit of a head scratch, but you have to start somewhere. We didn't know. The men went through this, but now it was the women's turn. So when you have these divisions that are not yet formed, that are still being figured out, somebody gets declared the champion. Somebody gets declared the number one contender. So Ronda has a bunch of fights against gals in a forming division. That's a nice way of saying girls that never should have been in there for world titles. But that is the cold, hard reality. So she's in there beating those girls. When she takes her oars out of the water, the division starts to form. But it's still not there. We have had 3 champions in that division in the last calendar year. We have had 4 champions in the last 15 months, and it's not done. The musical chairs of that belt is going to continue. And when the media wrapped their arms around this darling, had a great story, had a great look, was a good competitor, and was the top of this forming division, they went insane with it. They were talking about she could beat Floyd Mayweather. Do you remember that talk? There was guys that were on board with that saying she could beat Floyd Mayweather. As absolutely insane as that statement is, Joel, that was only 14 months ago. There was then people saying in the media that she was the best female athlete in the world. Now, they completely overlooked somebody named Serena Williams, who has been in a competitive architecture tournament-style format in a sport that's been around for over 100 years. You cannot look at a forming division ever in combat and declare who the best is. You got to let it trickle down. That's just the reality. So Ronda got thrown into this spot, and it was awesome. This is all meant to be positive. It was this awesome, rare opportunity. Right place, right time, right look, right skills, right matchups, right push. And she absolutely had a heyday. She had fun on top of everything else. She had competitive success. She had financial success. She was able to spin that into endorsements, television appearances, interviews, movies. Everything was right. But it wasn't real. That's where things come off. It wasn't real. This wasn't actually based on skill. It was based on the media to this. The one thing that I didn't know, and I say this as a personal friend of Ronda, the one thing I didn't know is that she marked out for her own gimmick. I didn't know that Ronda looked at it any differently than what I just said, which was, I was in the right place at the right time, and I'm going to ride this horse into the ground. I didn't realize that she was equating her self-worth to her performances in a sport, which she should not do. This is a nice, kind, giving, caring woman. That's the real story that has never been told. So on Saturday, when you looked at that performance, and you and I both thought she would win, but we are largely influenced by the media.
I had Amanda.
I thought on this